Forbidden frequencies, mysterious broadcasts no one can trace. There are signals all around us every second of every day. Radio waves, television broadcasts, cell phone calls, Wi-Fi. It's an invisible ocean of information that we swim in. But some of these signals are not meant for us. They come from the dark, from unknown places, carrying messages that no one can understand. They are the forbidden frequencies, mysterious broadcasts that have continued for decades, with no explanation and no one to claim them. Before we dive into this world of static and secrets, I have a question for you. What is the strangest, most unexplainable sound you've ever heard, especially late at night? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next journey into the unknown. Now, grab your headphones, turn down the lights, and let's tune in to the mystery. Our first stop is perhaps the most famous and the most unsettling of all the ghost signals. It has many names: the buzzer, UVB-76, the zhuzzer. For over 40 years, this station has been broadcasting a short, monotonous buzzing sound over and over again. It buzzes for about a second, pauses for a second, and then buzzes again. It repeats this pattern 25 times a minute of every hour of every day. It has been doing this since at least 1982, and some say it started even earlier in the late 1970s. Imagine that. A sound that has been continuously broadcast for longer than many of us have been alive. It broadcasts on the shortwave frequency of 425 kilohertz. Anyone with a decent shortwave radio can pick it up. For decades, it was just the buzz, a constant, lonely, industrial sound cutting through the static of the airwaves. It was a mystery, but a quiet one. A piece of background noise for radio enthusiasts and Cold War hobbyists. Then, things started to change. The buzz would occasionally stop, and in the sudden, deafening silence, a voice would speak. The voice is always live, never a recording. It speaks in Russian, reading out strange combinations of words and numbers. One of the most famous messages, heard on Christmas Eve in 1997, went something like this. The buzz stopped. Silence. Then a man's voice, clear and formal, spoke, "Ya, UVB-76. Ya, UVB-76, 180 EO8, Bromal, 74, 27, 99, 14. Boris, Roman, Olga, Mikhail, Anna, Larissa, 742799114. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the voice was gone, and the relentless buzz returned. What did it mean? Bromal, a code word, an acronym. And the names. Were they a list of agents? Targets? It was a glimpse behind the curtain, a confirmation that this was not just a technical glitch or an open microphone. Someone was there. Someone was operating it, and they were sending messages. Over the years, more messages have been heard. They often follow a similar pattern, using a phonetic alphabet unique to the Russian military. Words like Mikhail, Dmitry, Zhenya, Boris are used to represent letters. The messages themselves are cryptic strings of numbers and letters. MDZHB is a common call sign you hear, which has led some to believe the station is part of the Western Military District of the Russian Armed Forces. The mystery deepened when people tried to find the source of the broadcast. For years, it was traced to a location near a small town called Povarovo, just outside of Moscow. Radio hobbyists and urban explorers eventually found the site. It was an abandoned military base, a collection of crumbling concrete buildings and rusting radio towers surrounded by a dense, dark forest. Inside the main building, they found logbooks, technical manuals, and equipment scattered everywhere. It looked like it had been abandoned in a hurry. The logbooks confirmed that this facility was involved in transmitting the signal. But the strange thing was, the broadcast hadn't stopped. It was still buzzing away. This meant they had moved the entire operation to a new, secret location. The signal was eventually traced again, this time to a place near St. Petersburg. The operation continues, but from where exactly, no one is sure. The question is why? Why broadcast a constant buzz for over 40 years? There are many theories, each more fascinating than the last. The most popular and most terrifying theory is that UVB-76 is a dead man's switch. Imagine this. The station is connected to Russia's nuclear arsenal, The constant buzz is a signal to the system that everything is okay. It's a keep alive signal. If Russia were to be a victim of a first strike, a nuclear attack that decapitates its leadership and command structure, the broadcast would stop. The silence would be the trigger. With no one left to give the order, the automated system would assume the worst and launch a full-scale retaliatory nuclear strike on its enemies. The end of the world, triggered by a sound that simply stops. The voice messages in this theory are tests of the system, or perhaps orders to stand down from a potential launch. It's a chilling thought, the idea that a single monotonous sound is all that stands between us and total annihilation. Another theory, less apocalyptic but still mysterious, is that it's a simple channel marker. In the crowded world of shortwave radio, it can be hard to find a clear frequency. The idea is that the Russian military keeps this channel occupied with the buzz, so that in the event of a national emergency or an invasion, they have a pre-established clear frequency to broadcast important orders to their military units across the country. The buzz is just a way of saying, this channel is taken. It's a digital placeholder, a multi-million-dollar way to save a spot. A third theory, and one that connects to other mysterious broadcasts, is that it is used to communicate with a network of spies. The voice messages are the real purpose of the station. The buzz is just filler, a way to keep the channel open and to mask the real transmissions. A spy anywhere in the world would know to listen to this frequency at a specific time. They would hear the string of numbers and letters, and using a special one-time pad, a small notepad of random codes that only they and their handler have, they would decode the message. Orders to meet a contact, information to retrieve, or a warning of danger, all hidden in a meaningless jumble of words and numbers broadcast to the entire world, yet readable by only one person. The strangeness doesn't stop with the voices. Listeners have reported hearing other sounds buried in the static behind the buzz, faint conversations, as if a microphone was left on by accident, distant music, like a far-off radio playing a classic song. On one occasion in 2010, listeners were shocked to hear a small piece of the ballet Swan Lake playing for a few moments before being cut off. There have been thumps, scrapes, and even what sounded like a telephone conversation happening in the background. These small human moments make the station even more eerie. They remind you that behind this cold, robotic sound, there are people. Sitting in a room somewhere in Russia, watching over a machine that has been buzzing almost without interruption for a lifetime. What do they do all day? What secrets do they guard? We may never know. The buzzer just keeps on buzzing. But the buzzer is not alone in the shadows of the shortwave band. There are others, each with its own unique and creepy signature. Let's travel from the cold industrial sound of Russia to something a bit more musical, a bit more haunting. Let's talk about a station known as the Lincolnshire Poacher. Imagine you're tuning your radio late at night. You're trying to find a clear station, but all you hear is static. Then, through the hiss, a melody begins to play. It's an old English folk song, played on what sounds like a small organ or a xylophone. The melody is simple, catchy, but in this context, deeply unsettling. It plays twice, a short 10-note tune that repeats. Then the music stops. A woman's voice comes on the air. She has a crisp, clear English accent. She begins to read a series of numbers, grouped in fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. She reads them in a flat, emotionless tone. After reading a set number of groups, she falls silent. The little melody plays again, and then the station goes off the air, disappearing back into the static from which it came. This was the Lincolnshire Poacher, one of the most famous numbers stations in the world. Numbers stations are exactly what they sound like, radio stations that broadcast endless streams of numbers, letters, or coded words. They are widely believed to be a method for governments to communicate with spies in foreign countries. The system is simple, but almost impossible to break. The spy has a one-time pad, a list of random numbers. The message is encrypted using this pad. Because the pad is truly random and is used only once, the code is mathematically unbreakable. The government broadcasts the coded message openly on shortwave radio, which can travel thousands of miles and be picked up by anyone. But without the corresponding one-time pad, the message is just gibberish. It's a perfect way to send secret orders. The Lincolnshire Poacher was a particularly strong and clear station. It was believed to be operated by the British Secret Intelligence Service, also known as MI6. The signal was traced to a Royal Air Force base in Cyprus, a perfect location to broadcast to agents operating in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. The broadcast would usually start at a specific time on a specific frequency. The spy would be told in advance where and when to listen. The little melody, the Lincolnshire Poacher, was the station's identifier. It told the agent they were listening to the right station. There was another similar station that used a different melody. The first few bars of a song called Cherry Ripe. It's thought that these two stations were part of the same network, perhaps broadcasting to different groups of agents. Listening to the Lincolnshire Poacher is like listening to a ghost. The voice is so calm, so precise. It's a voice from the world of shadows, the world of John le Carré novels and Cold War thrillers. But this was real. For years, from the 1970s all the way until 2008, this station sent its messages out into the night. Who were the people receiving these messages? What secrets were being passed? Were they being told to steal documents, to turn an enemy asset? Or were they being warned that their cover was blown and they needed to run? We can only imagine the life of the person on the other end. Huddled over a small radio in a lonely apartment in a hostile city, pencil and paper in hand, carefully writing down the numbers that could mean the difference between life and death. Then, in 2008, after decades of broadcasting, the Lincolnshire Poacher and its sister station, Cherry Ripe, went silent. No announcement, no explanation. They just stopped. Did the spy network they served get shut down? Did technology make them obsolete, replaced by encrypted satellite phones and internet messaging? Or did the mission simply end? The silence they left behind is almost as mysterious as the broadcasts themselves. The little melody no longer plays, but the memory of it, a ghost of the Cold War, still haunts the airwaves. The British weren't the only ones playing these games. All over the world, countries operated their own numbers stations. The Cubans had one called Atención, which was famously used to communicate with a spy ring in Florida known as the WASP network. The Israelis, the Polish, the Chinese all had their own versions. One of the most eerie was a station believed to be operated by East Germany's secret police, the Stasi. It was known as the Swedish Rhapsody. Like the Lincolnshire Poacher, this station used a piece of music as its identifier. But instead of a jaunty folk song, it used a tune played on a tinny, creepy-sounding music box. The melody was from a piece by a Swedish composer, hence the name. The sound of that music box drifting out of the radio in the middle of the night is the stuff of nightmares. It sounds like something from a child's room, but twisted and corrupted. It's innocent and sinister at the same time. After the music box played, a girl's voice speaking in German would come on. She would read out groups of numbers. Her voice was young, almost childlike, which only added to the strangeness of the broadcast. For years, this station sent its messages, presumably to East German spies operating in West Germany and other parts of Europe. It was a constant, creepy presence on the radio. Then, shortly after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany, the Swedish Rhapsody also went silent. The Stasi was gone, and their ghost station disappeared with them. These numbers stations are a direct link to a secret history that was happening all around us, hidden in plain sight. While we were living our normal lives, a secret war was being fought in the alleys and back rooms of the world, and its soundtrack was these strange coded broadcasts. Most have now fallen silent, relics of a bygone era, but some, like the buzzer, continue, and new ones pop up all the time. The world of spies is still very much alive, and the airwaves are still their playground. But what if the signals are not from spies on Earth? What if they come from somewhere else entirely? Let's tune our receivers away from the spy games of Earth and point them towards the stars. Let's talk about the WOW signal. On the night of August 15, 1977, an astronomer named Jerry Ehman was working at Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope. The Big Ear wasn't like a normal telescope that you look through. It scanned the skies for radio waves, the invisible light that stars and galaxies emit. For years, it had been used as part of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI. It was listening for a message from the stars, a sign that we are not alone in the universe. The telescope would scan a patch of sky, and a computer would print out all the radio data on long sheets of paper. The data was just a long list of numbers and letters, representing the intensity of the radio signals it was picking up. Most of it was just random background noise, the hiss of the universe. Jerry's job was to go through these printouts every day, looking for anything unusual. It was a tedious, boring job. But on this particular night, something extraordinary happened. As he was looking through the data from a few nights before, his eyes caught a sequence of characters. The normal background noise was represented by low numbers, like ones and twos. But in the middle of a page, there was a string of letters and numbers that jumped out. 6EQUJ5. This wasn't random noise. This was a signal. A powerful, focused, narrow band signal. It was exactly the kind of signal that SETI researchers had been looking for. Let me explain why this was so special. Most natural things in space, like stars or pulsars, broadcast radio waves over a very wide range of frequencies, like a floodlight. But this signal was incredibly narrow, like a laser beam. It was on a very specific protected frequency that is internationally banned for use by any broadcaster on Earth. This frequency, around 1420 megahertz, is the frequency at which hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, naturally resonates. Scientists theorized that if an intelligent civilization wanted to send a message across the galaxy, they would use this frequency. It would be like a universal calling card, a frequency that any intelligent species would eventually discover and know to listen to. The signal lasted for 72 seconds. This was the exact amount of time that the Big Ear telescope could observe a single point in the sky as the Earth rotated. This meant the signal was coming from a fixed point in space. It got stronger as the telescope moved towards it, peaked, and then got weaker as the telescope moved away. The intensity of the signal was incredible. It was over 30 times stronger than the background noise of deep space. It was the strongest, clearest, most perfect candidate for an alien message ever received. Jerry Amon was so stunned by what he saw that he circled the sequence 6EQUJ5 on the printout and wrote one word in the margin: "Wow." And that's the name that has stuck with it ever since. The discovery caused a massive wave of excitement. Astronomers immediately pointed the Big Ear and other radio telescopes back to that same patch of sky in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. They listened, and they heard nothing, just the usual static of the cosmos. They have been listening to that patch of sky on and off for over 40 years now, and they have never, ever heard the signal again. So what was it? Where did it come from? The mystery has never been solved. Scientists have tried to explain it as a natural phenomenon. Some suggested it could have been a signal from an Earth satellite that bounced off a piece of space debris. But no satellite was broadcasting on that protected frequency. Others suggested it might have been a previously unknown astronomical event, like a flaring star or a pulsar. But nothing they have found can explain the narrow-band, powerful nature of that one-time burst. A more recent theory suggested it could have been caused by a hydrogen cloud surrounding a passing comet, but this idea has also been largely debunked by other scientists. That leaves the most exciting and terrifying possibility. It was a message, a deliberate signal sent from an intelligent civilization, hundreds or even thousands of light years away. Why did we only hear it once? Perhaps it was a powerful, sweeping beacon, like a cosmic lighthouse that just happened to cross our path for 72 seconds. By the time we looked back, it had moved on. Or perhaps it was a one-time message, a single hello sent out into the void. Or maybe, and this is a darker thought, maybe the civilization that sent it is no longer there. Maybe we heard the last gasp of a dying world, a final message sent out before they were silenced forever. The WOW signal remains the greatest mystery in the search for alien life. It's a single tantalizing clue that we might not be alone. A 72-second whisper from the stars that we heard by pure chance and may never hear again. It's a reminder that the universe is vast and full of wonders we can't even imagine. and that someone or something might be out there, broadcasting on a forbidden frequency. From a potential message from the distant stars, we now turn our attention to something much closer to home, but no less mysterious. An object that some say has been orbiting our planet for thousands of years, watching us and occasionally broadcasting its own strange signals. This is the legend of the Black Knight satellite. The story doesn't begin with the space race of the 1950s. It begins much earlier, in 1899. The brilliant and eccentric inventor Nikola Tesla was in his Colorado Springs laboratory, experimenting with wireless power transmission. He had built a massive transmitter that could send powerful electrical pulses through the ground. One night, while monitoring his sensitive equipment, he began to pick up a strange rhythmic signal. It wasn't natural static like lightning. It was a clear, repeating pattern. 1, 2, 3. A count. Tesla was convinced he was hearing signals from another planet, possibly Mars. He was ridiculed at the time, but was he onto something? Fast forward to the 1950s, before any country had successfully launched a satellite into orbit. The United States Air Force reportedly detected a strange object in polar orbit around the Earth. This was shocking, as neither the US nor the Soviet Union had the technology to achieve such an orbit at the time. The object was dubbed the Black Knight. It was a ghost satellite, an object of unknown origin. The story went public in some newspapers, but was quickly dismissed by the authorities as a misidentification of some other object. But the legend had begun. Over the years, more strange sightings and signals were attributed to the Black Knight. Astronauts on early space missions reported seeing unidentified objects. Ham radio operators picked up strange delayed echoes of their own transmissions, as if something in orbit was recording and rebroadcasting them. The most bizarre part of the legend comes from the 1970s. A Scottish researcher named Duncan Lunan claimed to have decoded some of these long-delayed echo signals that had been picked up in the 1920s. He plotted them on a graph, and to his amazement, they formed a star map. It was a map of the constellation Bootes as it would have appeared from Earth 13,000 years ago. The map pointed to a specific star system, Epsilon Bootes. According to Lunan's interpretation, the message was a welcome from the inhabitants of that star system. It was a message in a bottle, placed in orbit around our planet thousands of years ago, waiting for us to develop the technology to find it and understand it. So what is the Black Knight? Skeptics and scientists have a much more boring explanation. They say it's not one object, but a collection of myths built around various pieces of space junk. The object photographed by NASA astronauts that is often claimed to be the Black Knight has been officially identified as a thermal blanket that was lost during a spacewalk on a space shuttle mission. The long-delayed echoes are a known, but not fully understood, natural radio phenomenon. Tesla's signals were likely just misunderstood natural pulses from Jupiter or elsewhere in the solar system. But the legend persists. For believers, the official explanations are just a cover-up. They believe there is an ancient alien probe orbiting our planet, a silent sentinel that has watched the rise of human civilization from the Stone Age to the Space Age. They believe it is still up there, circling above our heads in the darkness of space, occasionally sending out a cryptic signal, a reminder that we are being watched. Is it just a collection of coincidences and space junk? Or is there really a 13,000-year-old alien satellite broadcasting secrets from a forbidden frequency in the sky? The truth, as they say, is out there. While alien satellites and spy communications are mysterious, sometimes the strangest broadcasts are the ones that are just plain weird. There are countless smaller, lesser-known stations that are just as baffling as the big ones. Take, for example, a station that radio hobbyists nicknamed the Yosemite Sam station. This station, which appeared in the early 2000s, broadcast on several shortwave frequencies. Its signal consisted of a short, looping data burst, which sounded a bit like an old dial-up modem. But what made it famous was what happened every time the data burst ended. You would hear a sound clip of the cartoon character Yosemite Sam from the Looney Tunes yelling his famous catchphrase, "Varmint, I'm gonna blow you to smithereens." The clip was distorted and low quality, making it sound even creepier. This strange combination of a digital signal and a cartoon character's voice would repeat over and over again. What on earth could be the purpose of such a station? One theory is that it was another numbers station, but one with a sense of humor. The Yosemite Sam clip would be the identifier, telling the intended spy that they were on the right channel, and the data burst that followed contained the secret message. It's an absurd image. A secret agent in a foreign country, risking their life, waiting to receive their orders from Yosemite Sam. Another theory is that it was a pirate radio station. Pirate radio operators are hobbyists who broadcast illegally, often just for fun or to share music. Maybe someone just thought it would be funny to set up an automated station that broadcast this weird signal 24/7 just to mess with people and create a mystery. Or perhaps it was a technical error. Some have suggested it could have been a legitimate commercial or military data station, and the audio clip was somehow getting mixed into the transmission by accident, perhaps from a nearby radio or television. The station eventually disappeared, leaving its bizarre purpose a total mystery. Then there are the stations that seem designed to be as unsettling as possible. One such station was known as the Backwards Music Station. As the name suggests, it would broadcast music and speech, but everything was played in reverse. Listeners would spend hours recording the broadcasts and then playing them forwards to try and decipher what was being said. Often, it would be nothing more than pages from a children's book or lines from a technical manual, read in a monotone voice. The purpose is completely unknown. Was it a code? Was it a form of psychological warfare designed to be weird and confusing to anyone who stumbled upon it? Or was it just a very strange art project, broadcast to the world by an anonymous artist? These oddball stations highlight the wild, unregulated nature of the shortwave radio bands. It's a global backyard, a place where anyone with the right equipment and a bit of technical knowledge can send a signal across the world. It's a place for spies and governments, but also for pranksters, pirates, and eccentrics. You never know what you might find when you turn the dial. You might hear a pop song from a foreign country, a military communication, or you might hear a ghostly music box, a buzzing sound that never stops, or a cartoon character threatening to blow you to smithereens. Finally, we come to a type of broadcast that is not a mystery in the same way as the others. We know who sends these messages, and we know in a general sense what they are for. But that doesn't make them any less terrifying. These are the Emergency Action Messages, or EAMs. You can often hear them on the high-frequency bands used by the United States Air Force. The broadcast will often start with a call sign like Sky King or Mainsail. A voice will come on, speaking in a calm, professional tone, and say something like, Sky King, do not answer. This is an order for all stations to listen, but not to reply, to keep the channel clear. Then the voice will read a short coded message of letters and numbers using the phonetic alphabet. Charlie, Papa, November, Oscar, 6, 2, Tango, Victor. The message is then repeated. After that, the voice says Sky King out and the broadcast ends. These are real messages being sent to the US military's strategic forces. That includes nuclear bombers in the air, submarines deep beneath the ocean, and missile silos buried under the ground. The messages are orders, updates, and tests for the people who have their fingers on the button of the most destructive weapons ever created. Of course, the messages are heavily encrypted. There is no way for an outsider to know what they mean. Most of the time, they are just drills, tests to make sure the communication system is working and that everyone is ready. But some of them are not drills. Some of them are real orders, perhaps to move a bomber to a different patrol route or to change a submarine's target package. Listening to these broadcasts is a profoundly chilling experience. You are hearing the cold, hard machinery of global power in action. When you hear that calm voice say, Sky King, you know that you are listening to the command and control network of a nuclear superpower. And you can't help but wonder what would happen if the message wasn't a drill. What would the message be that preceded a global war? Would it sound any different from the routine tests? Would the voice be as calm? It's a terrifying thought. These are not ghost signals from the past or messages from the stars. They are happening right now, every day. They are the forbidden frequencies that control our future, a constant reminder of the fragile peace we all live in, from UVB-76's relentless buzz to the haunting melody of the Lincolnshire poacher, from the cosmic whisper of the wow. Signal to the real-world dread of the Skyking messages, the airwaves are full of secrets. They are a testament to the hidden world that operates just beneath the surface of our own. A world of spies, secret military operations, and perhaps, just perhaps, visitors from other worlds. These broadcasts are like ghosts in the machine, voices from the void that we were never meant to hear. They remind us that no matter how much we think we know, the world is still full of mystery. All you have to do is listen. So next time you're up late and the world is quiet, imagine all the signals flying unseen through the air around you. Messages of war and peace, secrets and lies, and questions without answers. And maybe, if you tune a radio to just the right frequency, you'll hear one for yourself. Just don't expect to understand what it means.